Matt, extremely excited today to share this with you.
Yes.
Okay, let me tell you the backstory here. So there's this place in town I like to eat lunch. It's called the Brick Deli.
Yeah, we've been there with the family. Sure.
Fantastic place. And there's a waiter there, and he's super duper cool. And one day it was just me. I went in there and I was studying some math or whatever. And I said, hey, this French dip sandwich, does it have like au jus? Do you have like something I can dip my sandwich in? And the guy goes, no, man, I totally wish we did, but we don't. And it was like incredible empathy on behalf of the waiter.
Well, he really cared about the au jus.
He really
cared about your experience.
He knew that I cared. And I was like, man, what the heck, man? This would have been amazing. And he's like, yeah, I know, right? So anyway, fast forward a couple of weeks. I come back in, and he's like, dude, I got you. I was like, what are you talking about? He's like, I've been waiting on you to come back in. He goes behind the counter, and he pulls out a little bitty jug of au jus he bought with his own money.
Are you kidding me?
This happened. And then we got to talking, and turns out he's a professional wrestler.
What? Naturally.
Legit. And so I am happy to introduce you to the man across the table from you right now, the locksmith.
Hello, everybody.
All right, so we have a tremendous opportunity today to speak to a wrestler and learn things that we've always wanted to know about wrestling. So just so you know, this is the podcast called No Dumb Questions, so we'll just ask questions, and if you're cool answering it, I mean, it'd be great. I don't understand. It's my understanding that wrestling is, well, how do we even do this? Is it real, Matt? Is wrestling real?
I'm not going to say anything that could get me in trouble. There's a professional wrestler right here, and he knows what to do. So it is whatever this man says it is.
It's real to a degree, I guess. Obviously, it's scripted, and I think now the generation now kind of, knows it's fake, if you want to use the word fake. I hate using the word fake because I've gotten hurt many a times in training. It's tough. It's mentally and physically really tough. So to say fake is kind of a slap in the face, but it is choreographed, like a movie, like a play. So
all the moves, like the whole, is it dance steps or is it like in movements? In Act 1, we're going to do this, then it's going to swing here, then it's going to swing here, then the grand finale.
Correct. Yes, it's like that with improv as well, and there's only one take.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, you can practice, but a lot of the times you'll meet somebody for the first time ever, never trained with them. You got to go through your lingo that you learned in training.
Okay. Wait.
Yeah,
Let's back up. This is amazing. All right. I am already so incredibly excited about this. So let's start here. Your name is the Locksmith.
Correct.
Brandon Williams, right?
Yes.
And if people wanted to, let's say, see some of your moves and stuff like that, what would they? You're on Twitter, right?
Correct. Twitter, my tag is Hook and Stretch, at Hook and Stretch.
At Hook and Stretch.
Yes.
Hook and Stretch or Hook and
Hook and Stretch.
And so you go by the Locksmith. Is Brandon Williams your real name?
It is, yes. And I went with the Locksmith because I'm big into like judo, jiu-jitsu and stuff. I do that. I've been doing it on and off for probably like 5 years. But I've been taking it more seriously lately. But I started out, doing the door at my wrestling shows, like taking money, doing tickets, stuff like that. And everybody knows me. I invited people to the wrestling show, so everybody knows me as Brandon Williams. So when I actually started wrestling, this was probably about 4 or 5 years into like just helping run shows and stuff like that. It was kind of hard to, tell people I'm a character when they know me. You know what I mean? So it's like outside of the area, they don't know who I am. But if it's just me and you, I'm your waiter every day. And I come up and I'm saying I'm like the Undertaker or something like that. You know what I mean? So I went with my real name and I had to go with some kind of nickname because Brandon Williams is a common generic name. So, so having something there just kind of helps.
How does that manifest in what you like? What's your shtick? What's the thing that you do? And does it fit with the whole locksmith idea?
I have a background in like hardcore metal music. So I used to play in a band. So I kind of like use that mentality of a brotherhood type of hard, just, I don't know how to explain it, but like translate that to my character. I don't know if I really call it a character. It's more like an extension of myself, I guess. just turned up, to 10.
So an exaggeration of yourself.
Exactly.
I love it. Do you have a thing that you do though, like physically, that is in some way related to locksmithing?
Oh yeah,
he locks him up.
Yeah, like locks. Like my finish is like the ankle lock.
Okay.
And the finish would be your finishing move or whatever you want to call it.
Like Mortal Kombat, like finish him.
Exactly like that.
Okay.
Exactly.
But wait a minute. Is it exactly like that? Because in that, you kick people's torsos off, right?
That's true.
Whereas
Right.
with what you're talking about, that's not the kind of move. I mean, that's the kind of move that somebody's going to tap out on, right?
Correct. Yes.
If it's all like grappling kind of stuff.
Correct.
So when I was a kid, these are the ones I remember in terms of like the lock you up kind of moves. Okay, one from 8-bit NES Pro Wrestling. There was the Iron Claw.
Love it.
The Panther character. He would just grab people's foreheads, and it would just siphon their energy straight off. Then I remember, I couldn't tell you who did this, but as an 80s wrestler, he would do a move where he would grab somebody by the ankles as they're laying on their back in front of him. He'd grip it under his armpits, and then he would swing his leg over the top, rolling the guy. I think they called it a Boston Crab. Yes? That's a thing.
That's legit. Yeah.
Okay. And I mean, so I was like, I got to try this. So I did it to my brother, and I got grounded.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I deserved it.
Well, there's like the one that always scared me growing up is the pile driver.
Dangerous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So
it can be dangerous.
So when a kid, okay, well, there's so much to talk about here. There's so many directions. How do we wrangle this?
Well, here's how we wrangle it. But a pile driver, that's different. That's some kind of suplex, right? That's an area you're lifting somebody up.
You put their head towards the ground,
correct,
between your legs, and then you, like, if it was executed the way it's led to, it would break your spine.
Yeah, I did that to my brother too.
It would paralyze somebody.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure there's people that actually get hurt all the time doing this stuff.
There have been, yeah. And Stone Cold broke his neck, legit,
Really?
on a pile driver.
I didn't know that.
Really?
Right on top of his head. Yeah, I mean, he's lucky he's not paralyzed. But
It just wasn't done correctly.
not done correctly. Right.
So there's there's a lot of trust with the person that you're in. Let's don't talk about that yet, because that's a whole thing.
Yeah, I'm still on the locksmith move. So
Yeah.
you specialize in stuff that makes people tap out.
Correct.
So
Try to.
what's the other super famous one from back in the Figure 4?
Figure 4, Ric Flair.
Is that still a thing? Like, do people pull that out just for like retro cred?
Oh yeah, there's a lot of guys that still use the Figure 4. You know, Ric Flair is obviously popular with all the wrestlers. A lot of people watch him, and that's one of the basic moves. You know, as a kid, like you're saying, a lot of those moves you'll try on your brother and whatever. So a lot of people still use it.
So if you're playing football, you get different kinds of quarterbacks. You got the quarterback who stands tall in the pocket, steps up under pressure, and throws from the pocket. You got your Jake Plummer type rollout quarterbacks who try to get out of the pocket and then throw. You've got your scramble and buy time quarterbacks like Russell Wilson was before whatever on earth that was that happened this year. And then you've got your just straight up running quarterbacks who don't tend to last as long, but man, they're fun to watch. You got these different styles of play. What are the different styles of pro wrestler?
It's almost the same type of deal. I would say there's high flyers, which more your acrobatics. Definitely something I can't do. So that's another reason I lean toward the more jiu-jitsu side, because it's easier. I'm an older dude. So you have your luchadors, high flyers, your technical wrestlers, your brawlers, which is more like your barroom brawl, big guys that can just throw a punch, you know? And then let's see, you got women's wrestlers. You have, there's so many. Midget wrestling.
Midget wrestling is a thing,
what?
right? So midget wrestling is, I don't know the proper terminology. I don't know how.
Correct, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what is correct these days, but what I do know is I've seen a flyer for midget wrestling locally. Is that a thing?
That is a thing. I think it's a thing most, like countrywide. There's all kinds of midget wrestling leagues, which I'm not the biggest fan of, to be honest with you.
Really? In what do you mean?
To be honest, it's like a lot of people, whenever people talk about midget wrestling, you'll go online, you'll look at the comments and stuff, and it's just people laughing and like stuff like that, which is kind of mean-spirited. So like, I know they're out there making money and, you know, they're choosing to do it, and I get that, but like, I don't know. It's kind of like,
Just not a fan.
if they're a fan of it, you know, be a fan of it. But if they're going out there to make fun of people, you know, it's just not right.
I see. I see what you're saying. Okay, so growing up, I remember like Jake the Snake, Macho Man Randy Savage, Jimmy Superfly Snuka, the old school stuff, Hulk Hogan. That's, in my head, that's like the pinnacle of professional wrestling.
Oh, for sure.
What is that level? What would you call that?
I mean, as far as popularity-wise, that was when the crowds were the biggest. I mean, people thought it was, I think everybody thought it was real back then. Nowadays, I mean, it's hardly anybody that thinks it's real. I mean, they still like it, but back then it was drawing crowds. I think it obviously had something to do with the culture back then. Not as much to do, not as much media to take in, so that was something to do. But yeah, right place, right time for a lot of those guys.
So that was WWF, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and then you have levels under that. So, like, if you were to describe the layers
the pyramid of wrestling.
Yeah, how would you describe that? And where are you at in the pyramid?
The bottom. Well, not the bottom, but I'm near the bottom because you're going to start out with WWE, which is your multi-billionaire, top dog in America at least. And then right below that, you're going to have a place called AEW, which is owned by Tony Khan of the Jacksonville Jaguars. His dad owns the Jacksonville Jaguars. Yeah.
Okay.
So he's got a lot of money. But he owns AEW, and they're on TNT now, which was WCW's place back in the day.
Is that gone?
WCW's gone. Yeah, he got bought out by WWE.
Oh.
So, but AEW's still around, and then below that, you'll have really your top tier indies, which is what I consider myself as an independent wrestler, which is everybody that's not on a contract. So you'll have a bunch of those all throughout the U.S. And you can subcategorize those into, that's a whole nother pyramid of top dog and the bottom.
Really?
Yeah, it's good and it's bad.
And then under that, you've got all this other rogue stuff going on, and that's where you'd put like the midget wrestling and stuff like that. Like that's
that's more like niche, like I guess trying to like go towards one crowd kind of thing.
Okay.
Sideshow.
Sideshow, yeah. Okay, so that's not legit.
I don't consider it legit.
It's clear to me what you do is legit because you're like we've had conversations at the restaurant. You're traveling on the weekends.
Correct. Yeah.
You're traveling sometimes during the week.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're getting in a car. You're going to a different state.
Correct.
And you are wrestling.
Yes. Yeah.
How does that work out economically? Like they have to be paying you.
They pay you, but when you're starting out, it's not good. I mean, sometimes you might not even get paid. There's different levels of obviously people getting paid. Some people will get paid a lot, and some people get paid the gas money. It's about exposure. I consider it like it's very close to the band scene, as far as like, hey, I'm in a local band. I play at the bar downtown, or hey, I'm in a band. We're traveling to Nashville. We're playing this gig. There's levels to it. So you got to work your way. Some people make more money just because they're more popular with the fans. They're more friendly. They can connect better. So they can sell their merchandise. They can sell their T-shirts. They can sell, photos of themselves that cost $1. Sell them for $20. So there's hustle. It's a hustle business for sure.
You said when you're talking about this second pyramid, like this kind of free for all pyramid, you said some of it's good, some of it's bad. What makes it good? What makes it bad?
Oh man, what would you like to hear about first? Which one?
Tell me about good. Like, if you go to an event as a spectator,
right.
Or if you help put on an event, because
right.
you indicated you're into that as well. What would you get to the end of the night and be like, yeah, that went well? What would a good night look like?
As far as a wrestling fan, it's good wrestling, good storytelling in the wrestling, good production that they care about. The little stuff. Is their ring like properly set up right? Is the canvas not super dirty and has blood? And it's just little things. How they put the show together. How the people look on the show. Like, are you watching it and say, hey, that looks like a wrestler? It's, hey, oh, that's Billy Bob from down the street. It's a joke, which that goes to the bad part. The bad part's I've been in the middle of nowhere, Alabama, and just like it's like a family reunion show of just boonies, people that don't train, that shouldn't be wrestling, and it's just it's crazy. I mean, it's a beautiful disaster,
dude. Your eyes right now, like I've seen things.
Yeah, there's so much.
Have you heard about Butterbean?
Butterbean, yeah, oh yeah, no Butterbean.
So a long time ago, one of my dad's friends, Rex, he talked about going to one of these shows out in the middle of nowhere. And he said, dude, there was this guy named Butterbean. and he said, they had all these wrestlers, and then Butterbean just came out of the crowd and just owned the place.
Like legit Butterbean. Boxer.
The Butterbean.
Okay.
Yeah, and so like apparently Butterbean got his start in a lower tier, not unlike what you're doing.
Right.
I don't know if this is true or not.
Was he a wrestler first?
That's my understanding. Is he a boxer now? What is he?
I mean, Butterbean, as far as like the famous Butterbean, he's a boxer, but I'm not sure where he started.
Okay.
Looks like the kind of guy who would have started on a
I
wrestling
mean,
circuit.
seriously, yeah.
Yeah. So what is the dream? Like you're putting in the time, and I'd like to talk more about that too. Right. But like, what is the goal? Like, obviously it's fun, and you're. I mean, I'm looking at you. You're in shape.
Right.
Like you're clearly putting in the work in the gym or however you're doing it.
Yeah.
So what is the ultimate? Like, what would be a home run?
Me personally, which my goals differ from everybody else. I don't expect to get signed by WWE. I'm about to turn 37 in March, and I started late. It is what it is. But maybe enough money to like comfortably not have to work a day job, to where I can go to school and have that as a backup, and then just like be able to travel. I like traveling. I don't like being stuck to one place, so it is fun to get out, see people, meet new people. I like talking to new people, so I like that. Yeah.
What about the promotion side? Is that appealing to you?
Oh yeah, I actually co-own my promotion, New South.
It's called New South Wrestling.
Yes, New South Pro Wrestling.
Pro Wrestling.
Yeah, we started that. This will be 8 years coming up.
Wow.
Yeah. That's where I originally started, because before wrestling, I was doing band stuff. Like I said, I used to promote band shows. And then I lived in California for a couple of years, traveling with bands, doing merch, just doing tours and stuff like that. So it's the same DIY mentality from that scene, just carried over to wrestling, because I've liked wrestling since I was in 5th grade. I loved it. And I did backyard wrestling. I don't know if you guys ever got into that, but a big time there, everybody was doing backyard wrestling, because in the late 90s, I mean, everybody was watching wrestling. Like, everybody was watching wrestling. But
I wrestled with my friends.
Love it. Yeah, see,
all the way into college.
On the trampoline?
No, I'm not. No, the way our dorm rooms were set up at the college I went to, you had 4 rooms coming off of one common living room space in each suite, and we would take the furniture that they gave us to sit in and be civilized in that shared suite area. We'd just throw it out in the courtyard and gear up with the stuff that you wear to grapple. And then we would get out the VHS camera, and we would just put on events, and it was ridiculous. And there was always one guy, and I'm thinking of the guy's name. I still remember his name, who did not get it, and he'd be like, "I'm going to try to win." Like, what are you doing, dude? Stop trying to win. Are you kidding me? It's like, all right, it's my turn. I'm going to lumber over and get this guy. Got to be careful, because he might listen to this. I'm thinking of him. You know who you are. I'm gonna do a move, and he'd be like, "No, surprise, block, face slap, kick, crotch." All of that hurt. What are you doing? And it hurt my heart. You jerk.
So instead of so instead of working with you, he was genuinely against you.
He just didn't understand the exercise. But like, you don't run into that, do you? Like it's got to be an ego-free event where like everybody's just having fun, right?
Yeah, you wish. It's an ego-driven.
What? But how can you do that? The winners and losers are already decided. How can you have ego?
Man, there's so much ego of your place on the card. Like, am I winning my match?
Forgive me, I don't know what that means. So,
place on the card would be...
What is a card?
A card would be the list of matches for the night. So you come in and you see the card, which is the promoter, which will label out who's wrestling who, which you'll probably know before, but it changes. You'll have the list of who's wrestling who's the referee, how long you're supposed to go, who's winning, all that stuff, all the information you need to know. So say if I'm politicking, let's say I'm one of those guys that likes to politic, I'll come in and I'll see, my name's in the middle or my name's at the end. I'm like, I'm trying to go home early or whatever. Promoter, can I bump my match up to first maybe? Or if I'm losing, hey man, you think I could win this match because blah, blah, blah. Because unfortunately, like, winning and losing does matter to a degree, because outside perspective, I guess that's your worth. So if you lose all the time, the outside perspective of fans, wrestling fans, they know
You're not a threat.
They know it's fake. But if you're losing all the time, why should they care? kind of thing.
Oh,
It's
wow.
it's tough.
Yeah, you don't want to be the Washington Generals.
I mean, yeah.
So it is negotiable. Like you, okay,
Yeah,
let's say you get in the car and you drive to Chattanooga. Has that happened? Have you ever wrestled in Chattanooga?
All the time.
Okay, so let's say you go to Chattanooga and you show up and you're looking at the card. And what did you see last time you were on the card in Chattanooga?
I mean, basically you'll just see the lists. You know who you're wrestling. Obviously, I know who I'm wrestling before I get there most of the time, unless they cancel or something crazy happens. Most of the time I know if I'm going to win or not, just because I kind of know how things go. I know where I'm at. I know my place, basically.
Okay.
So I'll know by the opponent, yeah, I'm probably going to lose that match. Or, yeah, I don't know, maybe I'll win this one.
How is that denoted on the card?
As far as like who's winning, who's losing,
Yeah.
underline.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, simple.
Yeah.
Interesting. And so you go up and you decide. How often do you say, "Oh, well, this isn't what I want. I'm going to try to negotiate"?
Never.
Oh, you just
No. I'm easy to work with. I'm not that guy.
okay.
I'm not a prima donna. You know, I'm trying to earn a spot. You know, I'm an older dude. Like I said, there's a lot of young guys that can do crazy stuff. You know, I offer a certain type of wrestling. I think I'm decent at it. I'm starting to get better. But, yeah, I'm just going in there. They're paying me money. You know, it's a good time. They're affording me the chance to come in there and do something I like to do. And, you know, I can make a little money doing it. So,
Has there ever been a time where you were supposed to lose and you went ahead and you took the L, but it was clear that your charisma and your style was resonating with the crowd and they wanted to see you win?
for sure. And sometimes that's good to do that. Like, as far as there's been a recent time where a lot of the fans thought I was winning a match. And that was great because I knew I wasn't and I needed them hooked. Like, they thought I was winning, not just wrestling fans. They know it's fake. Even though they know it's fake, they think, oh, well, he's going to win this match. And, like, because they think they know how the story's going to go. So, like, at that moment, I was like, man, we got him. They really think I'm going to win this match. It's in my hometown. I'm putting out the promos, man. This is it, guys. You got to come see me wrestle, blah, 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 blah. And they're biting on it. You know, I see them, like, the liking it, commenting, like, people messaging me, like, man, I hope you win that belt next week. You know, stuff like that. And they know it's fake. Like, they're not stupid people. And I was like, man, I was telling my friends, we got him. Like, I need this. I hope they think I'm winning, because when I lose, that's the moment that's the moment you want. Like, you know it's fake, but you got him. Like, it's the magic trick.
I don't
understand.
understand. I don't understand. So it's like you made them care.
Correct. Yeah. Care in a way that they've seen my hard work. They know me. They've seen me, work at New South for 7-8 years. And they've seen me wrestle from the bottom of, not being good at all to, where I'm at today, which is nothing special. But I guess they follow that journey and, invest in me. And that's part of it too. It's getting people to invest in you, your journey. And if you can market that outside of the people that see you in person, that's the biggest thing. Like, having the outside perspective see your journey as well, I guess.
What'd they do when you lost? Did they riot?
They didn't riot, but they were booing and throwing stuff.
Stuff was thrown.
They love the ride too. You like to be fooled. You like to see the magic trick. It's like, oh man, that was really cool.
Yes.
Man,
Yes.
Interesting.
Very insightful. Yes. Have you ever gone to an opponent where their name's underlined and you're like, hey, could you cheat to win this one? Like, I want to save a little face on this one. Would you do something you shouldn't do?
That's smart questions. I love this right here.
Is it a smart question?
Very smart question, because I've done that before where it's like, I walked into a place, and I'm not going to name names. It's a promotion, and it's not a great promotion.
Cracker Barrel.
I love Cracker Barrel. Not a great place. They don't put a lot of time into their, production stuff, the stuff I love, like, really making it look good. But, they're giving me money. So it is what it is. And I'm coming to a new place, and I'm probably going to have to put their guy over, which putting a guy over means you're going to lose to them. You're going to make them look good. Because if I come to, Jimbo's hometown in Wetumpka, and he's the man, everybody's friends with Jimbo, and I come in there and, whoop his butt and pin him, Jimbo ain't crap to them. I leave town. I ain't got to deal with it. He comes back, and he's going to be like, oh, man, I just got my butt whooped. Everybody thinks I'm a loser now, So I'm coming in there. He's beating me, And I leave town. Hell, I ain't got to deal with it.
Yeah.
But he's like, yeah, I beat that guy. My friends, you know what I mean?
Like, are we allowed to say names of other wrestlers, or is it best that we don't?
No, you're good.
So what's another? Give us a bad guy. We need a
bad guy wrestler?
A bad guy wrestler.
A heel in your circuit.
In our circuit, a bad guy. There's a guy named Donnie Primetime.
Donnie.
I don't like Donnie.
I cannot stand.
I do not like Donnie
Freaking
Primetime.
Join the club.
Prime.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he is
More
just
like Donnie
the worst.
Prime Time. Am I right?
Yeah, right? Okay,
Ooh,
so
nice.
let's say you show up, and is the circuit the correct term, the circuit that you're in?
Yeah. No.
So
Independent scene, whatever.
So in your current wrestling world, what is a great venue? Like, it's like, oh man, dude, it's the time of the year where we get to wrestle at this location. What is that?
For us personally, like our small circuit, New South Circuit.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not too many great. The great venue we've been to is Fort Payne, the theater.
Oh, yeah.
The theater out there.
Okay.
Have you ever been to it?
I've never been to the theater, but I do love Fort Payne, Alabama.
It's awesome. Hometown of Alabama, the band.
Hometown of socks.
Yeah. Yeah. It used to be the sock capital of
Really?
the world. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Big deal. Yeah.
But the theater out there, it's awesome. We haven't used it in a while because I think they changed hands or whatever, you know, that goes. But it was a great venue, big projector screen, trussing, all the bells and whistles, man. Wasn't very big, but it was nice.
What's trussing?
Trussing is like your metal trussing for lights.
Got it.
The top square around
Correct.
the top of
Yeah, the expensive stuff.
Oh, okay. So that means like, oh, this is legit. And so there'll be a really
Yeah.
big crowd?
If you have trussing, you probably got money.
Really?
This episode of No Dumb Questions is brought to you by RAYCON. We both use RAYCONs all the time, and guess who else uses fancy new RAYCONs now?
Who does? Oh, Camilla. You got her some for Christmas.
Mm-hmm. The lovely Camilla got the pretty rose gold ones, and she super likes them.
Does she
And I
really?
believe she is on them right now in the other room on some kind of fancy call for her literacy council to help people learn how to read.
That's fantastic. So RAYCON helps people read. That was a bridge too far.
I mean, you got to use the transitive property to get there, but yeah.
Every time I think of the transitive property, I think of the fact that we smuggled pizzas into our geometry class in high school through the window. I'm sorry. That was a weird connection, but that's the way my brain works. So,
Okay, but I have a question.
yeah.
It is the transitive property, right, that you use in that incredibly played out joke that I just dug up from the 1990s?
Yeah, exactly. It's a transitive property.
the
If
one.
A equal B and B equals C, then A equals C. Yeah.
Yeah,
that's the
right,
transitive-
naturally.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
That's the transitive
sure. So-
property.
If the Denver Broncos defeat the San Francisco 49ers and the San Francisco 49ers win the Super Bowl, the Denver Broncos are the best football team.
No, I'm afraid that that's Bama didn't
Can you
go
just
to the
let me have
national
something?
championship this year, and so I'm seeing all the tweets about isn't it great to see how much better these teams are than Alabama? I'm seeing a lot of that, and I'm just rolling with it. I'm like, it's my time to shut up.
It's really nice of you. Did you see at halftime in the championship game? Like, I don't even know who the commentator was. I don't watch much college football. He's got Nick Saban sitting right there.
Yes,
And he's going on and on about, Georgia's just clearly the last two. I mean, it's the class program. And Nick Saban, bless his heart, he just sat there and didn't nod, didn't shake his head. He just sat there.
good for him. That's good. Yeah, that's what you do in that situation. So the way he works is he will just come back a year and a half later or whenever, and he'll be like, yeah, a lot of people said this, but not that. That's kinda
I
works.
took that personally. Yeah, I like that very much.
We need to talk about RAYCONs.
Yeah, I was going to do that. Did you see that they have sound profiles now? Have you tried that out yet?
You can actually change between the sound profiles. If you hold the left earbud, like you can actually push the earbud as if it's a button, and you hold it for 3 seconds, you can toggle between the sound profiles. Did you know that?
Yes, and they are observably different. So I have one that I like for listening to the audiobooks, and then
Really?
I have another one that I like for listening to Wigwam, which when we do our Real Friends Make Mixtapes for Each Other episode, which we're overdue on,
Yeah, we are.
you're going to learn who Wigwam is. And will you please at least pretend to like them for me?
Okay, I can do that.
Thank you.
But tell me about how the sound profiles work. I don't know the different ones. So I've got an older pair that don't have the new profiles in it. So how do they work?
Well, The Pure Sound Profile is the name of the one that I'm using with the audiobook. And it sounds like you're in a really neatly sound-controlled space listening to someone intimately read to you, which just isn't how you want your rock to sound. So I don't know exactly what the EQ looks like, but I've got a picture in my head of how I would set my old school EQ for just voice and how I would like it for rock. Rock has a little bit more of the smiley face with a tiny little spike halfway across the EQ. So it's just, I mean, it's a different sound profile and it sounds way awesomer.
That's awesome. I'm not as in tune with sound, so this is new for me. Like, what are the other ones?
Well, I'm trying not to go on and on about it, but I mean, you want your mid-deep stuff so you can hear a bass guitar, but that can get really milky and weird if it's just audio of somebody reading. That can be that kind of syrupy section of the human voice. So having the ability to switch between them is going to make them both work. The third one, I think, just emphasizes bass, but I haven't used that one very much.
Yeah. Sorry, that was not even good.
That's the second super hip reference in one spot.
All right, so if you want to support No Dumb Questions, we would be grateful. You can go to buyraycon.com/NDQ today to get 15% off your Raycon order. That's buyraycon.com/NDQ. That'll score you 15% off. And you can get any kind you want. There's a lot on there. And if you're getting into the New Year fitness thing, they have options for you there. If you work in a shop, you can do stuff there. It's good stuff. Everyday carry kind of stuff. And it's a really reasonably priced product. And that's perhaps my favorite part, other than the fact that I love them.
And honestly, is there a better thing to give somebody if you want to encourage them for New Year stuff than a gift like that? It's perfect. Camilla's already out absolutely slaying. I think she's going to do another one of these half marathons. She seems to be into that from time to time, which means that she's gearing up for it. And what do I see in her ears while she is out hustling around? Those super cool rose gold Raycons, probably with the bass profile and something that really thumps on. I don't know that for sure. She's walking by. Camilla, what do you listen to when you walk around? You do? Thank you.
What'd she say?
She said my podcast. I choose to believe it's the one with just me and not the one that also has you.
So she can hear the sweet, sultrous sounds of Matt Whitman.
Well, it is what it is.
Buyraycon.com/NDQ for 15% off. Thank you very much. So you show up and you look at the card. It's you and Donnie Primetime.
Oh man,
More
it's
like scrawny.
It's a pretty big deal because he's a big deal on the circuit, right?
He's in trouble.
Okay. So you go to Donnie and you meet and you're like, okay, you're backstage in the is it a green room or?
Yeah, just backstage.
Okay, you're backstage. You and Donnie are like, what's up, man? How's it going, dude? Yeah, did you have a good week? I have a good week yet. So how do you want to do this? And do you just literally start talking on the spot, or are you talking a week ahead of time on the phone? Or
when I first started wrestling, I was messaging people I was going to wrestle and like, hey man, I got these ideas, man. I want to do this, and hey, we should start with doing this. And that's just not, you don't do that. Like that's something you don't. That's just something you don't do because
I wouldn't know that.
More experienced people, you don't have to do it. Like if you're having to message people, I mean, you can message general ideas, especially if it's a big match or you have a big spot, which a spot is like a sequence of moves or a part in the story that you're trying to tell. But if it's just a regular match, nothing special, I'm just showing up. You're showing up that day. I usually show up about 4 hours before the show starts just to warm up and get in the ring. I like to go over my stuff in the ring with the person because there's a lot of moving parts. I'm a new guy, so I like to make sure ring placement is right. We're thinking the same things. If I'm saying I'm going to whip you to a corner and then I'm going to run in and I'm going to give you an elbow, I could be thinking, hey, I'm going to whip you to a corner over here to the left. In your head, you're going to be thinking, oh, I'm going to whip you over here to the right. So it's just like, that's very basic, but like little stuff like that to make sure your spots are on key. It's like a dance. It's all steps.
So there's a tremendous amount of talent involved in this because when my wife and I dance, like we've got 3 moves that we know how to dance.
Right.
Like whatever we do, ballroom dancing or whatever, and no matter what the music is, we're doing the same thing. So we're not great at it. So when you are wrestling, do you have people that know like the basic moves and then people that know the advanced stuff, or?
Yeah, I mean, everybody's supposed to know the basics, which you'll run into people that just haven't been trained good or been trained by somebody that probably shouldn't have been wrestling in the first place. You can seek out places to go train legit. And the time I started training, which we'll get into this in a second, it sounds very shoddy, but it's not. I started training in a backyard with one of my buddies who has a disability. He only has one hand, right? So in my head, I'm thinking I'm about to start training. Oh, I'm in a backyard. Oh, this guy's with one hand's going to train me. I'm thinking, what is going on? Like, seriously. So I'm like, okay, whatever. I can't afford to go off and train. I got a son. Like, my son was being born when I started training. So I was like, man, I got a baby. I can't go off, leave my baby, spend all this money on a dream. You know what I mean? That's selfish. So my buddy, he wrestled back in the day. And, yeah, he was training out in the backyard with some people, just helping him out, because he just loves wrestling. So, and they had a ring set up in the backyard, which wasn't the best ring, but it was actually decent considering it was in a backyard, and it was free. He just showed me the ropes, showed me how to run the ropes, literally.
Literally.
Yeah, take a bump, which is how to fall. A back bump is how to fall on your back. A butt bump, obviously your butt. Flip bumps. These are your basic starting. Anybody that starts training will go through basically 4 bumps: back bump, butt bump, flip bump, and then stomach bump. Because every wrestling move you're going to take is probably going to be landing in one of those positions.
So you want to avoid the shoulder bump. That's where injuries happen.
I've messed my AC joint up falling on my shoulder. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Forgive me, you both understood that. I didn't. So does that mean if your shoulder hits first?
Not good.
Yeah, that's how quarterbacks get crunched.
Yeah, it's easy. I mean, your shoulder's not very strong taking a hit like that. So if you fall the right way on it, it can mess you up for a while. Like, I still have minor issues from it when I lift, but for 6 months to a year, I was hurt, man. Like, you can go out there and do this and do your stuff, but when you're not doing it, you're sitting at home, it hurts. Like, and I'm not big on taking anything, so
pain meds or anything
like that, all natural. So
yeah, that's awesome, man. Okay, so you learned the bumps, then what?
Bumps, running the ropes, footwork, which is huge because it's like a dance. If you get tangled up, it looks bad, like to the eye. So if you're watching wrestling and good wrestling, they're on cue with each other. I mean, their tempo is good. Their running, everything is on key.
Like literal dance steps, like
literal dance
steps. The 2-step.
It's
if
smooth.
This foot's
baby.
forward. This corresponding foot for her is back.
Correct.
So we're not in
You're
other's
mirroring
business.
each other pretty much, yeah. And you got to know how to read other people. And then it goes to, wrestling, like legit wrestling, how to tie up with somebody. Like, you start learning legit stuff, and then, you kind of pick what you want to do. If you want to venture off into this is more pro wrestling, that's never going to work in real life. Or this would work in real life, but I'm going to do it where it's not actually going to kill you. You know what I mean? And that's where I do it. I started with the technical wrestling, which is my buddy, he did judo and stuff. So that's what he knew. So he started taking like single leg takedowns, double leg takedowns, all the legit stuff. And then, you just got to figure out a way to do it without, hurting somebody.
Is it physically taxing in the ring?
Yeah, very taxing. When I first started, I was a little overweight, and it was.
You were overweight?
Oh, yeah. I was a fat kid, man.
Dude, you're trim.
You've solved that problem.
Yeah,
I was a fat kid with glasses that loved wrestling way too much. But, I started working out heavily, like when I started training, man. Just like, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it.
I got a question. Yeah. When the match starts, as I recall, you're both in a corner, like a boxing match.
Right.
What are the different ways to initiate this? Like, it seems like one of the hardest steps would be, how are we going to get this thing rolling? What do you do there?
You're right. You usually start out with a beginning sequence of how you want to do stuff. And then it all depends on the story of where you're taking this. And it also depends on how much time you got. So if I look on the card from earlier, you're going to see a time by it, and it's going to say 10 minutes, 15 minutes. And that means curtain to curtain. That means when you walk out that curtain, first person walks out that curtain, your timer starts.
Oh.
By the end of your match, you better be back in that curtain by 15 minutes, because that trains you for TV. Because if you go over on TV, they're live. Like, that's going into money. And I've seen that happen too on like indie shows where they're filming for pay-per-view. Matches go long. Wrestlers don't care. They don't listen to the times. They're selfish, and it'll end up hurting the product.
Yeah. So you come out of the corners.
Correct.
What are the options for that first engagement?
Sorry to veer off. I'm so
No,
sorry.
No, dude, that was amazing.
Every bit of this is gold.
I know.
You
This is
veer
amazing.
wherever you want.
There's so many avenues I could go to. Yeah. So in the beginning, you're going to start out. You're going to go over, what you're starting with. So I like to basic matches. If I'm going into a basic match, don't know the guy, don't have a story, we're going to tie up. It's basic ABC wrestling. We're going to tie up, and we're going to wrestle. There's a shine and a heat. So a heat is whenever you're getting your butt whooped, you're taking the fire, you're getting beat up. And that's when you want that crowd. If you're the good guy, you want that crowd to be feeling sympathy for you. Like, come on, get back in the game. If you're football, come on, team, you got to score a touchdown. They're in the heat. They're losing. If you're shining, it's like a Mario star, man. You're the good guy. You got a Mario star, ain't nobody touching you. You hit me, it don't matter. I'm going to chop you, you're done. You know what I mean? You're just like on fire. So usually like an ABC match, a babyface will shine up. That'll let the crowd know this is the good guy. He's pretty good at wrestling. And this other guy that's been talking crap to us all the way to the ring, he's not as good. So when that babyface is shining up, he's hitting elbows, he's jumping off the ropes, boom, the bad guy's down. And then he's going to pick him up, and the bad guy's going to hit him in the gut with a punch, which a punch is illegal in wrestling. Open hand, you can't do a closed fist. So that's what you'll see the refs like, open your fist, is that a closed fist? So the bad guy punch him right.
Cheated.
Right, punch him in the stomach. And what's the initial reaction? You cheated. Hey, come on, man, that was cheap. So that cuts it off. That cuts off that Mario star. It ended.
Yeah, so lack of integrity is the only thing that breaks a star.
Correct.
That's how you do it.
So it breaks
Got it.
the shine.
Correct.
Okay.
It breaks the shine, and then it might, if this is super ABC, then it'll go into a heat, which is the bad guy's on top. He's kicking your butt, and you need sympathy. A hope spot, which is sprinkled into the heat, is a moment where you think the good guys got him, but no, he fell off. So he's
Dude,
getting
this
hit.
is amazing.
He's going to get picked up. That bad guy's talking so much trash. He's going to pick him up for a power bomb. Oh, no, the good guy slipped off his back. He hit the ropes. He jumped in his arms. Nope, bad guy says nope, throws him down. So for a moment, you're like, oh, the good guy, he's coming back. Oh, no, he didn't. So it's like that crescendo roller coaster. Oh, he's not doing good. Come on, he's doing good. Oh, cut him back down. You're flat again. So now you're back into another heat, double heat.
Double heat.
And then you're going to work into, and there's so many different, obviously, ways to do it and different terms and whatever. But then it'll go into your comeback, which is basically you get a special move. That's when, if you want to talk about video games, you got your signature move. This is your comeback. This is the moment where, okay, this is going to happen. This is leading to the end. Don't know where it's going to veer off at the end, but it's going there. So you're coming back, boom, boom, boom. And at the end, there's the finish. So whatever you called for the finish. And on that, you want to take them on another roller coaster. You want to pin that bad guy 1, 2. Oh, no. So close. You want to get them in that moment. If you don't get it, if you don't wrestle right and you don't tell the story and it's sloppy, it's like a song. If you're listening to an awesome song, you're into the rhythm, you're singing the chorus, then all of a sudden it's like offbeat. It's like, what happened? Like, for that moment, you lost them. You know what I mean? So perfect wrestling is just like rhythm, smooth.
Okay, first of all, shine and heat, that's forever a part of my vocabulary
Yeah.
now until the end of
Give
time.
him the heat.
That's,
Yeah.
but second, that's the basic structure of all media narrative. News follows the shine and the heat formula that you just talked about. The pseudo recovery and not being able to pull back out of it. The all hope is lost moment. The NFL, the NBA. A great
Life.
NFL season or playoff game. A great Stanley Cup. I mean, you get 7 games in a Stanley Cup final if everybody plays it right. Everybody always says, like, well, that's what the league wants. They want this to go 7 games, or they may be working these refs to make sure we get 7 games. Well, you see it because when it feels right to me as a viewer, they gave me all of those emotions that you're just talking about. And also, every Marvel fight.
Every movie. Every
is
good
this.
movie.
Everything. I mean, Thanos versus the 3 original Avengers in whichever one that was, Endgame. It's that. It's exactly that.
The 3 little pigs. You know, the wolf's coming in giving heat, man.
Tell me about
He's knocking
that.
the houses down. He's giving heat. You're like, come on, pigs, you gotta do something.
Okay.
So at the end, it's that comeback, man. They got that brick house. You know, that's the finish. They beat the wolf.
That's awesome.
It even works there.
It does. So this is incredible. Like, it's clear to me that you think very complexly. Like, you have story themes, you have all these things in your mind. When I see a wrestler, I don't think that.
Yeah.
I just don't.
A lot of people don't. It's a laughing stock now.
However, the wrestlers that you interact with, do they all think at the same level that you do?
No. It's just like life, man, and work, anywhere. You're going to meet people on every kind of spectrum you can imagine. And you got to deal with personalities just like anywhere else, man. Your bosses, people at work that think they're doing more. You know, it's just basic life stuff, man. Except it's got a wrestling filter on it. You know, a little goofy filter of, unrealistic world.
You meet somebody you're about to have a match with,
Uh-huh.
and immediately you're like, oh, this is going to work.
Oh, yeah.
What is it that tells you that about them?
Well, I like to do tape study. So as far as just what's on tape, like I'll know, okay, yeah, we're probably going to have a good match. Or this guy's style really doesn't match up with mine. Or this guy just likes to beat people up. So I don't know what I'm getting into. I'm just going to get beat up a whole bunch, you know, take all kinds of crazy moves and stuff. But when I get there, I like to gauge the person, just kind of see what kind of person they are, man. Like, just get vibes. You get vibes, man. I'm just a vibe guy, you know. So like, if they're willing to talk to me like a human being, and not just like, you know, I've dealt with guys that have been on TV, that I've wrestled, that have been in all kinds of sports, MMA. I wrestled Tom Lawler. I don't know if you know Tom Lawler.
I know the last name.
Yeah, he fought in UFC and was a legit dude. Like,
What was his nickname?
Filthy Tom Lawler.
Filthy Tom.
Yeah, he was
Lawler.
on.
He's second generation, right? His dad was a wrestler too.
No, this is a UFC fighter.
Oh, UFC.
Correct.
Oh, forgive me, I misunderstood.
He was pure badass. I had to wrestle this guy, so he transitioned to wrestling after he got a UFC. Probably saw there's a little money in it. He's legit, dude. He's got all the physical attributes. He's trained in the dojo, so he's legit. You know what I mean? He just got to learn the pro wrestling part. So I have to wrestle this guy in it's called UWFI, which is like, it's like a shoot style, which basically means it's kind of like MMA. Almost nothing's planned. We're just going in there and we're going at it to a degree. You know what I mean? He's not really coming out there hitting me or I'd be dead because this dude's really good. But dealing with him, it's probably me not knowing him personally, but he was kind of, you know, quiet, taken back. Yeah, it's different. I'm a talker. I like to really talk to people. So
How'd it go?
it was awesome. He's the man. Like, he's really good. I'm surprised he doesn't have a contract somewhere, to be honest with you.
Who won that match?
Oh, him for sure, man.
Why him for sure?
He's a star, man. He's been on UFC.
So if he's a star, then he has to beat you for the...
Not necessarily, but I'm technically a nobody. So me coming in beating him, they better have, you know, a story lined up for me or they're going to be bringing me back a lot. But, you know, I knew that wasn't going to happen. So, but it was a good opportunity. And this was for Paradigm Pro Wrestling up in Indiana. And they're great dudes. And yeah, Tom Lawler's the man.
So you drove all the way to Indiana for that?
Yeah, it's not bad. It's like 5 hours.
Wow.
That's nothing, man.
This is really...
Yeah, I drove 12 hours to Detroit. I'm like, yeah, I talked to you about that, the brick one day.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was a road trip, man.
That's
Like
awesome.
that, I left Thursday, got there 4 o'clock in the morning, slept 3 hours, got up, wrestled that night, left the venue in my gear, drove 12 hours back here, and had to wrestle at my own promotion this Saturday night. It was brutal. It was brutal. Yeah, and I like driving, so like I don't want nobody to take the wheel.
Oh,
I'm podcasting it. I'm driving, drinking coffee, man.
Oh, yeah?
I like the way you think. I'm for that. Pretty much anybody who does what you do, could I bring up the story and the rhythm and the beats of it that you just described, and they would know that lingo?
The good ones should know rhythm and footsteps for sure. I compare myself to music because that's what I'm background in music. My trainer he plays guitar and stuff, so that's how he taught me. Kind of made me kind of see it like, oh, okay, that kind of makes sense. So footsteps and their basics, you'll know off the bat if they're good or not from watching that.
Really?
What kind of stuff does the crowd always bite on. Like Letterman used to do this thing where he'd have a joke right at the beginning of his monologue. Anything went south with an interview anywhere, he'd just go back to that joke because he knows they bit on that. What's your Letterman running joke that you can always go to the well on?
As far as like what would a wrestler do in a match? Is that what you're saying?
What would always bring the crowd back in? Always get a reaction.
A lot of crowds love high flying stuff. So acrobats, man. I mean, it is impressive. Don't get me wrong. I mean, everybody loves to see flipping in the air and doing all this stuff. It is cool. So a lot of the guys that can do acrobats usually get some pretty good fan reaction, man. They're pretty popular.
So on your Twitter account, Hook and Stretch.
Yes.
So I was looking at some of the video you had on there of you wrestling.
Yes.
Do you mind me asking, how tall are you?
I am 5'10".
5'10".
5'11", maybe.
Some of these dudes look like they are double your size.
Yeah.
And they got a good 6 inches on you. They are huge people, and you're picking them up.
Yeah.
I saw one guy, I don't know the move, forgive me, but you got behind him and you grabbed him like it was a Heimlich, and then you kind of did a back bend and you slammed him behind you.
Correct. German suplex.
German suplex.
Yes.
Okay. If I were to do that to another person that was that size, I would be seriously injured. So how on earth, number one, picking up a person of that size is not easy.
Correct.
How did you train to do that? And number two, how are you making sure that you're not going to hurt him on the other side? Because I assume, is there an element where you have to look out for your partner and you have to look out for his safety?
For sure. Some moves more than others. As far as a German suplex, if you're taking a German suplex, as long as the person's giving it to you correctly, which is where you're hooking them around the waist. If I'm coming up to you and I hook you high up on the waist above your belly button up here near your chest, and I take you backwards, physics, I'm going to land on your neck and your shoulders. But if I go lower and you jump and you're assisting your own, German suplex to a degree, some people can just lift you out of the air. That's happened to me. Someone just, boop, I ain't got to jump. That guy's taking me for a ride. But some bigger guys, I need the help, man. Like, I could pick you up maybe, but then I'm going to be out of gas. And we still got 5 minutes. You know what I mean? Like,
okay.
Don't run me out of my gas tank yet. So, if you're jumping up, taking it, jump up and take your back bump. Know how to fall. It's like a break fall in judo. Attack the mat with your palms down.
But there's a lot of trust there.
Oh, yeah.
Because if the guy that you're wrestling with just is on an off night, or if he's a fool or whatever,
he's got a gripe with you.
Yeah, like a legit gripe.
That's true. I mean, you're giving your life in his hands. I mean,
you could be hurt.
You could be paralyzed. I mean, people not seen it, but I've seen people definitely get majorly hurt. But there's people been paralyzed. I mean, they ain't never walking again.
So, if I understand correctly, you've told me that you learned the ropes, literally.
Right.
And you learn the lingo, you learn the language, you walk in, you meet the guy that you're on the card with, and you're just you don't talk ahead of time because that's like socially unacceptable. Or is that fair to say?
Yeah.
Oh, it's just like the people that know what's up don't have to do that.
Correct.
Okay. You're going to get in that ring with that person, and they're going to do things that could legit get you hurt.
Correct.
How do you square that circle? Like, how do you, because you care about your family. Like, how do you, there's something I'm not seeing.
A lot of the times, if I'm wrestling somebody and I've never seen video of them, I'm probably not wrestling them because I don't know who they are. But most of the time, I know who I'm wrestling. As far as I heard of them, I've seen clips of them. And if they're at reputable places, I know they're not out there hurting people. They're at spots that are, stepping stones to try to get a contract. Because a lot of the guys, that's what they're out there doing, man. They're just trying to get a contract. Some other people, obviously like me, just want to wrestle, get as far as I can. No hopes and dreams. But some people, that's the end all be all, man. Like, it's their job.
So if they hurt you in the community, they would be put on a bad list?
On purpose, yeah, you'd be blackballed. If it was like a heinous thing, like, oh, I got beef with this dude, I'm going to go knock him out. You know what I mean? Yeah, that's definitely, you'll get blackballed.
They just won't get invited back.
I mean, it's not called for. You know what I mean? There's places, if you want to do that, take it outside, handle it, not in the wrestling. It's like doing it at work. I'm going to come and punch this dude at work. Nah, I'll meet you outside when we get off. And
How often does it end up outside?
Not really much, to be honest with you, man. There's a lot of internet griping and stuff like that,
The old-fashioned way.
But you guys are actually, you're true professionals, right?
Most of us.
Yeah, most of us.
Yeah.
I'm reading between the side cutting eye glances.
Yeah, you always got a few.
Yeah. So, communicating with the person as you're wrestling, there has to be some form of communication, because if you're doing improv comedy,
Right.
you get to hear what the other person says, and you say yes and you go to the next one.
Correct.
Is it similar to that, where if they have an idea, how do you agree in real time? Okay, I guess we're doing that.
A lot of the improv stuff comes in the heat. So if the bad guy's beating up the good guy, you're not going to plan every little thing. You're not going to plan, okay, I need you to go over there to those ropes, and I'm going to go choke you. You know, as a good guy, if you're trained right, you're taking heat, you know, you're giving the bad guy opportunities to do whatever. So if I'm taking the heat, I'm not just going to lay there on my back, face up to the ceiling, and just get my
It's
butt
like a
whooped.
starfish.
For one, the crowd can't see my face. So there's mistake number one. They need to see your face. They need to be engaged with you. If they can't see you, I don't care. You're just getting your butt whooped. And I'm also not going to lay there, because then it's boring. The bad guy's just got to sit there and beat on a dead body. You know what I mean? So you want to be showing some fight, you know, and you also want to be trying to stand up. If you get knocked down in a fight, probably going to be trying to stand up. So, like, I'm going to the ropes, and I'm going to slow climb those ropes like a ladder. And if I'm doing it right, that bad guy should come over there, put his leg on top of my head, choke me with the ropes. The ref's going to come over. Yeah, get off of him. You got to count of 5, 4, whatever. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So those are the most impotent refs in all of sports. I just remember watching that as a kid and being like, why even have that guy? Like, all he does is get knocked out, and then cheating happens every time, Dad. And my dad's over there like, huh, that's so strange. Yep, so he just let me figure it out for myself.
Tell the locksmith here about what you read in the paper that day and your dad. That was pretty good.
I watched a very early WrestleMania 1, 3. It was early, and the big ticket was Andre the Giant and Hulk Hogan. And Andre the Giant, who was apparently one of the best humans who've ever lived, well, he was always the heel.
Oh, yeah.
And, of course, Hulk Hogan was always the face in those days. That was before the Hollywood.
It's like opposite in real life stuff.
Yeah. It's interesting, isn't it? And so I remember in that match that nobody could beat Andre the Giant. He's huge. Couldn't beat him in that NES wrestling game either. You just run into people. I mean, what can you do? And Hulk Hogan takes the heat for a long time, manages to flip something. I don't remember how, like some block of Andre the Giant's gigantic meat hook paw, that monster. And he starts like just hyperventilating and makes this like Instagram lip face and starts spitting and slobbering and doing the Matumbo finger at Andre the Giant, and he picks him up. And everybody's just going bonkers like Joe Rogan does now, ringside. He picks him up, not very high, but Andre the Giant was a very large man, and all of us watching the show could empathize. And he body slammed him, just a straight, no sauce, nothing special. But he was in the air for a second, and then he got body slammed, which apparently was just murderous to Andre the Giant. He couldn't handle that. Right. And he gets the 3 count, and man, I felt some stuff. Like, I was ready to cry. You know, I was rooting so hard.
Why do you think that was such a big moment?
Because it was insurmountable odds, right? Exactly. And Hulk Hogan, like, that's America. I'm America. He has yellow hair. I have yellow hair. And he went up in the air. It was amazing.
You went on for the ride. Like, they built that story up. If you didn't know who Andre the Giant was and he got body slammed, cool feat, like physical feat.
Right.
But they had you hook, line, and sinker. Nobody could body slam Andre. You've heard that for months.
Yes.
Nobody can do it. This guy tried. He couldn't do it.
Yes.
And they had you as a kid like, oh, I guess nobody can do it. Until your superhero showed up and saved the day. And they took you on that full ride. And it's magical.
Right.
Yeah.
And I forgot about that. I forgot all the shots of like Bret the Hitman Hart getting Andre worn down. Andre's taking all that heat, and he goes for the body slam, and he just can't do it.
It's on the video game. Yeah.
And Andre the Giant
is he really on the video game?
Like on the old
gonna
64. You try to pick up Andre the Giant, you can't pick him up.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Really?
This is amazing. And then it wasn't in the paper the next day. I went and I got the Fort Collins, Coloradoan, and I went to the sports section. I was so excited because I always read the sports clips with Dad about, you know, the Royals or the Broncos or whomever. And I'm like, I can't wait to see. Dad, do you think it's going to be on the front page or just the sports front page? It's not anywhere. Dad, why isn't it anywhere?
It's in the classifieds.
Well, son, we need to talk. What about, Dad? Is this the thing about new hair where I wasn't used to seeing it and my voice getting deeper again? No, son, it's something else. And he walked me through the fact that maybe it wasn't totally 100% real, and it was a memorable day for me.
I never had that. Like in 5th grade, I knew it wasn't real when I started watching it.
Really?
Okay, well, not everybody's as smart.
No, I mean, it was. I think I'd heard people talk about wrestling. And, at that point, it had gotten through a popularity phase of ultra popular. Hulk Hogan 80s phase, and it kind of died down a little bit. And then I got into it right when it hit its peak again, right when the NWO, everybody had Wolfpack, all that stuff. I started watching it. I was like, maybe this is real, but no, this isn't real. Like, I was 5th grade, I was young. And then I'm sure I asked my parents, and like, no, it's not real. But I honestly don't know why I liked it so much, man. Like, I started playing with the figures first because I was being babysat a lot. So I was playing with the wrestling figures that my buddy had, and then just like, I was like, oh, these are cool guys. Like, what is this? And just started watching it, and I guess fell in love, to be cliche.
That's awesome.
You mean those rubber ones where they had no joints like G.I. Joe guys? They were just clumps
not
of
those
poured
old ones.
rubber?
I didn't like those. I love figures that have articulation joints.
Okay,
man.
all right.
Yeah.
Would that be the dream for there to be an articulating wrestling
Dude,
figure of you?
That'd be sick.
Locksmith.
The locksmith?
That'd be sick.
I'm sure there's ways to do that.
This episode of No Dumb Questions is brought to you by the patrons of the program. Destin, could you explain that, please?
Yeah, so a while back, a guy named Jack Conti had an idea. He's like, hey, people like to make things on the internet, but it doesn't really make sense financially. But I want them to make beautiful things. So he created this thing called Patreon. And the purpose of Patreon is to provide a link between people who like to make stuff and people who enjoy the things that they make. And so I thought that was a really interesting concept. He actually made a video when he first made it, and that was huge. That the fact that he did that changed my life because a lot of patrons decided they wanted to change my life. And the way it works is if you go to patreon.com/nodumbquestions, on there's a place where you can support this podcast. You can also get it for free and not support at all.
Yes, which is still awesome.
That's great. Yeah. And the reason you can do that is because patrons choose to support. And the fact that people go to patreon.com/nodumbquestions and they support on Patreon, what that does is that it allows us to, I don't know, how would you say it, Matt?
I would say it allows us to be unbelievably picky with our sponsorships.
It does. It absolutely does.
Yeah, it means that we lean on the Patreon support. It takes some of the pressure off to run sponsorships we wouldn't want to run. It makes it easier for us to stick to our principles, which is we only run sponsorships for things that we believe in. And if we aren't running a sponsorship on a given episode, it's because there isn't something that's available right in front of us at the moment that we're really enthusiastic to put in front of you. It lets us be picky.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a big deal. And the other thing is, the way I view sponsorships is the same way you do. If you only talk about the things you genuinely use and like, then what that does is, I don't know, it's your name is worth more than gold. Like your credibility is like, oh, I know that person. They only talk about the truth. They only say things that genuinely they believe in. And so I personally think it's the only way. But, other people aren't in a situation where they can do that. And so the fact that people support on Patreon allows us to make content about things we want to make content about, and it also allows us to only work with sponsors that we believe in. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks for making it easier to be principled.
Exactly. You can be principled when you're given that luxury by patrons, and we are, and we're grateful. So
We are.
thank you. That's where I'm at.
Agreed.
So what would be right now, let's say that there's somebody in the fourth chair here listening to this podcast that runs a wrestling promotion somewhere else. Like, would you go to their wrestling thing and wrestle with them?
Oh yeah, all the time. I mean, I do that all the time. Yeah.
Really?
Like all these other independent promotions are owned by either former wrestlers or fans or business people. And you got to pick out. I mean, it's not as easy as picking out. A lot of people, you got to work your way up. You got to start at the bad ones.
So what's your criteria for saying yes? Do you say yes to everything?
No. Money, for one. Is it worth the drive? I'm not looking to get paid a lot, but am I losing money? That's the big thing. If I'm losing money, the exposure better outweigh the travel for sure. And there's sometimes it's been like that. But if it's a show where it's not being filmed or it's bad footage, it's not being, I can't use the footage to shop around, then I'm basically slamming my body on the ground for nothing. You know what I mean? So the pay better at least be there. And at least I'm getting paid.
Is the money good? Is that you don't have to answer that if that's too personal of a question. That thousands of dollars?
Not even close. Like if you're starting at the bottom, independent wrestlers make $20, man. Like
really,
maybe $20, and that's a good payday for some people.
That'll barely cover the ad bill.
Yeah, if that. But
wow. But the people that are promoting it make a lot of money.
No, that's not necessarily true either. And that all depends, and that goes into the business side of stuff, which I'm big into business. My partner, he came from more of a wrestling background. He deals with wrestling stories. He's done that forever. So we're trying to get all that stuff on the right page. But that's a whole nother thing too. I'm trying to wrestle and do this stuff for fun and, semi-career, and also trying to run this business, which is a lot, running a business, having a family and everything. Man.
So the dream would be a match where you get upwards around $1,000 to do the match.
If I got $1,000, that'd be amazing.
Really?
Yeah, I could probably just do that, wrestle once a weekend, and then at least venture or fund my other stuff.
How much does the attire and the boots and all that cost?
I'm getting a new pair of gear here in a few weeks because I'm making my GCW, Game Changer Wrestling debut. It is the biggest independent wrestling promotion in the country.
Congrats.
And they travel over the world.
Congratulations.
Wow. Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's really cool, actually. But yeah, I got some new gear coming. Cost me $300 for a wrestling singlet, which has got some, designs and stuff like that on it. Shoes, I just have like wrestling ASICs. So like go to Academy, $60-$70 for those. But wrestling boots cost like $500-$600.
Okay.
Like good ones, like they're real leather and stuff. So, but everything, it's like $500 if you want to get you some good stuff.
So you being the locksmith,
right.
Do you have a lock?
I do, yeah. Actually, I carry a chain and a lock around my neck, and then I got, locks on my gear and stuff like that. Because at first I wore like these brightly colored polka dot, like 80s gear. And it was just because my trainers told me like, it doesn't matter what gear you wear. If you're worried about what gear you're wearing first, you're not doing it right. Get out there and learn how to wrestle. It's like football. Don't worry about what flashy, jersey you got on. Put on the practice jerseys. Go learn to do what you're doing. You can earn that down the road.
Do you have some way that you signal to the audience that your signature grappling move or hold is about to happen?
No, I should, man. Like,
you gotta think of something.
I'm still very awkward in front of people, like crowds and stuff. I don't like to talk to people.
I'm not sensing that.
Well, you guys,
all.
I feel more comfortable.
Not even
like,
a
in a
little
personal setting. I'm kind of good if I kind of know you, get vibes. But like in front of other people, I just have no self confidence, man. So it's like, and that's part of the reason I wanted to do this too. It's like I'm gonna get outside of my box, like get outside my comfort zone. If I'm outside my comfort zone, then I'm doing the right thing.
Hold on, I'm going to push back on you. I'm going to disagree with you a little bit. So you're telling me you drive to another state, you put on a singlet.
A singlet, yeah, that bulges.
It was hard. It's hard.
That doesn't tell lies.
You got to stay in shape, brother.
And then you get in front of people and you do all these moves, and you're not confident in front of people. I disagree. You have like incredible confidence.
Yeah, that's 11 out of 10.
Well, thank you, but yeah, I still don't think I do. I get very nervous. But when I first started, I was like, man, am I gonna have to wear this? Like looking in the mirror at my house, out of shape. Like, what am I doing?
Does your wife like it?
Now she does. I guess she kind of feels stupid at first, but yeah.
There's some benefits.
Yeah.
But to the point, I don't think we should leave here without thinking of something.
Yeah.
It's like if it's me and there's a guy laying there and I'm a professional wrestler and I got locks all over everything and I'm the locksmith, Like I'm going over to some little kit over by the post. I've completely incapacitated my opponent.
Oh
at
yeah,
this
he's
point.
out.
I'm putting on some teeny tiny little glasses. I'm getting out some teeny tiny little lock picking devices, and I'm making sure everyone is in on what I am about to do, and I'm imitate with my little tiny fingers and lock picking device what I'm about to do to the guy to make sure everybody wants me to do it, and then I carefully remove my micro spectacles and initiate the move to everyone's joy and delight. Am
Well-
I getting it or am I ruining it?
Hey, if that works, I'll go with it, man.
Are you allowed to use props?
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Could you come up with a big locking thing and use the lock?
I don't know, man. Like, I'm trying to figure that out, man. That's part of the ride, too. Just trying to figure out myself.
So Jake the Snake. Do you remember Jake the Snake back in the day?
Yes.
Iconic.
He would pull the snake out, and he would just totally terrify people with the snake.
Stuff
And
of nightmares.
who was the guy with the money? What was his name?
Ted DiBiase.
Ted DiBiase and the what was his girl's name? Fabulous Moolah.
I remember there's a mental image of him putting money in people's mouths or something like that. Like,
Oh, yeah.
he did something with money, and I was like, man, this guy must be incredibly rich. He can just defeat his enemies and then just throw money at them to mock them in front of everyone.
Yes.
So, like, what does the locksmith do?
Yeah, I mean, I went with the locksmith. My buddy actually came up with it.
I think it's great.
Well, thank you.
I think
Yeah.
I think it's genius. I
I don't think anybody's using it. I haven't done my
I've heard
research.
some other smaller time wrestling names, and my reaction is, well, bless your heart.
Okay.
But that one's good.
Thank you.
I like it.
Because you can lock them up.
Exactly. So so I started with the judo and jiu-jitsu, right? So I'm doing locks already. Like, that's my move set. I'm not going out there doing tons of crazy flips. I can't do them, so not going to do that. So I was trying to think of something with locks, something with submission, something like that. And my buddy said, what about the locksmith? And I was like, yeah, we could go with that. I don't want to use Brandon Williams anymore. Like, I've been Brandon Williams. It's boring. I know tons of them. You can probably Google it and never find me. So, like,
No, your name's great. I like your name. Don't worry
well,
about
thank
it.
you. But so I just went with that, and then just from there it was like, well, I'm gonna put it on my gear. I'm gonna wear a chain out that has a lock. Just anything that, if you're in wrestling or you're online, you're in the Twitterverse of wrestling, and you see a lock and chain, man, at least, man,
Yeah.
for
There's
a
even an
second-
emoji.
Want.
Exactly.
Oh, yes.
Everything. After everything I do, it's like mentally, like you see that. Just for a second, if you think of me for a second, if you're seeing a locksmith out somewhere or a lock and chain, I've done my job.
Branding.
The nicknames work. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I'm imagining. Go ahead.
Well, here's what I thought when I first heard it. I thought two things immediately. One, I bet his thing is that he does holds. He does, the kind of stuff we were talking about earlier,
Right.
figure four, Boston crab, that kind of thing. But then I thought, but it also communicates that he's not some brawler. He's not your hacksaw Jim Duggan, Bam Bam Bigelow, just slug it out type. This guy's a technician.
He's smart.
He understands wrestling. He understands the art, the science, the sweet craft of it. And he's going to be able to pick the lock of his opponent's defenses and outthink them as a technician. That's what it said to me.
Chestnut checkers.
Yeah, like the ultimate defeat for the locksmith would be if someone were able to lock up the locksmith.
Exactly.
That would be the ultimate
Right.
defeat. Yeah?
Yes.
And I've seen plenty of defeat, guys.
Really?
Oh yeah, man. Like I've probably lost more than I've won, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Especially, I mean, I'm new. This will be my 4th year. I'm coming into my 4th year of wrestling.
Let's say, for example, we have a patron wrestler of the people have patron saints of whatever. If we had the patron wrestler of No Good Questions.
Clearly, this is the official wrestler of our podcast.
Yes. So let's say we've got people in the fourth chair. They're listening to this, and you obviously, would you say, Matt, we now have an official wrestler?
Yeah, it was Red Rooster until today, but now it's the locksmith.
The locksmith is the official wrestler of No Dumb Questions.
Deep dive.
Yeah. So if someone that's listening somewhere else, in a different country or in a different part of our country, and they wanted to see you do your thing, how would they connect with you? How would they find what you're doing?
The best way, Twitter, at Hook and Stretch, as I said earlier. I usually update that with my wrestling bookings, where I'm going to be. I'll share flyers, videos. So if you are looking to see where I'm going to be at, definitely Twitter. Also have a Facebook, but I keep that more personal. So yeah, Twitter.
Awesome.
Is there ever a situation where you're at an event that gets streamed live or anything like that?
For sure. The one coming up, the GCW show, Game Changer Wrestling, it's going to be streamed on Fight TV.
What are you doing to prepare for that match?
Right now I'm on a very low carb diet, which sucks.
Yeah.
I'm trying to drop some water weight. This will be like week number 2, I think, and I got 3 weeks left. So obviously gym, all that stuff, tape study, watching matches.
You already know who you're going to wrestle?
For one of the shows.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you know the outcome?
No, I don't. I really don't.
Fun.
On this one. Yeah.
That's exciting.
It could be 50-50.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's exciting. I'm imagining like right before you pin your opponent at the end, you climb up into the corner and you look at all the audience and you're pointing at them like Matt said earlier. The guy's obviously incapacitated behind you because of all the things you've done to him. And then you pull out this big like cardboard lock and you open the lock and then you close it like ka-chunk and then you put your hand to your ear like, should I lock him up? Should I lock him up? Lock him up.
Hey.
Did they do that? Did they say that?
They have before. I should. You're
Dude,
right.
you got it.
I need something.
You got.
You need a prop, dude. We will totally help you build this. Are you serious? Like you need it? Like if you had this, could you like pull out the big lock and be like, should I lock him up?
If I can figure out a way to deliver it organically and not sound like a moron or I'm faking, like trying to push something that's not going to work.
You got to
You
get
know what I
somebody
mean?
in the crowd to make that happen for you.
Oh,
they did it
yes.
for you.
Plants, baby.
You got to go shill.
Is that a thing? Can we make a plant?
I'm sure there are plants out there. And obviously there's plants as far as like people's friends in the crowd that are, trying to get stuff going. If you hear one person say it, you got a big group of people saying it. They're all going to say it. So,
Dude, that is the way to go. If we just went to a show with a sign or a big lock, and then there's a moment like how
just got to get traction, baby. After that, just let it free.
How could you signal to us like, hey, it's time. We need you to start the chant now. If we were in the crowd,
I need that. I need some kind of hand gesture, lock, something.
Like lock him
right.
up, like a fist with an arch, like a.
I need some
kind of some kind of.
There was another wrestler that told me I was listening because when I go, I'll try to listen to other wrestlers that are above me, that have done more or been on TV or have just they're better than me. So I try to sit and just pick their brain, just listen to how they deal with stuff, how they, go about their match, how they were trained. And everybody's different. You can take everything with a grain of salt. But this one guy, I wrestled in Georgia, and he was on the independent circuit now. He's got a contract now. He said, man, once I got that catchphrase, man, it was it started to kind of take off after that. People started, oh, they like this catchphrase. And then they're going to check you out more. And then they're going to oh, man, I can't wait till he comes out. I'm going to say this catchphrase because I feel like, you're a part of something. You know what I mean?
What was the catchphrase?
I can't even remember.
Okay.
I mean, it's all
something.
Take that,
it's all
you
great.
big jerk.
Was this something his fans would say?
I've never
Yes.
written one before.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm new with this.
Okay. So yeah, I think this is a thing that could happen.
Lock him up is solid.
Lock him up is very solid.
It's good. Also, I mean, let's say you're the face and you're taking heat, but you got to have your recovery moment.
Right.
A lot of those are signature moves for wrestlers too, where there's something that happens there and something signals to the crowd like, I'm back, baby.
Yep.
That's the hope spot. I wrote that down.
Except not just the hope glimmer. This is the actual recovery that I'm talking about. This is the comeback. So this isn't just a little
this
flash.
This is Hulk
and then you're back
Hogan
to
getting hit, starting to shake.
Yes.
It's the Hulk up.
Yeah,
That's the comeback.
What's your Hulk up?
I really don't have a certain stuff I do. There's no certain different stuff. But for stuff like that, you're basically just wanting to show fire in a comeback. So it's almost like Hulk Hogan-ish. Is those hits aren't hitting those. You're not taking the hits. Your mind's more powerful now.
You have the shine.
You got the shine. You got the Mario star.
Okay, so we've got just the terminology I learned through this. So we've got, and I learned this from a book we read earlier. It's called The Hate Incorporated. You've got the face and the heel. Correct?
Yep.
The face is the good guy. The heel is the bad guy. And so you said there's different phases in the story arc. You've got the shine and you've got the heat.
Correct.
And then you said there's a hope spot where you're taking the heat, but you might bust out of it, but you don't. Then you go into the double heat, and then after that, the comeback, and that's when.
Right.
That's when you pop and lock.
And that's the super
Ooh,
AV.
Dude, they start doing the thing.
Pop and lock is good too.
What?
Oh,
What?
Oh, his arms are moving in the shape of
What?
locks. Oh, golly, no way.
Dude, it has lock in the name of the move. It's right in there. You can't do that if you're not feeling better.
Yeah,
A person who's getting whooped can't do that.
they can't do that.
No, you
They
can
can't
only do
lock
that
him
if
up.
things are fine now and you're in trouble. And then other guy has to do the terrified face.
Can you lock him to like the corner of the ring? Like, can you wrap him up on the ropes or something and just literally put a chain around him?
That's illegal.
Oh, is it?
I mean, if you're looking at it as a legit wrestling match, which you're supposed to look at as a legit wrestling match, you wouldn't be able to do that. You can't use weapons.
Well,
But, I
can
mean,
you?
If the ref was distracted on the other side.
True. But that would make me want to cheat. That'd probably make me a bad guy.
Oh, but you're not a bad guy.
90% of the time, I'm a good guy.
What about
Because
some
I'm-
kind of lockup just using your body and the
Yeah.
turnbuckle and the ropes in the corner?
Yeah.
Ooh, like
See what
that's
I'm
the
saying?
move. That's
Like,
the move.
Well, that's true.
Or a complimentary move. That could be like a mid-match move.
Yes, definitely. I've done that mid-match. Like, it's not cheating, but it's, they've been cheating all night, so might as well get one on them.
Can you
and then
use
get
the ropes as part of a weapon? Like, is that legal?
No. But,
Okay.
I mean, people do it, but, like, it's one of those things you can't, like, technically. It's illegal because
Pish posh.
if you're on the ropes, your opponent is supposed to.
Dude, I genuinely want to come see you wrestle.
I genuinely want to come see you.
It's fun, man. It really is fun going to a wrestling show, any wrestling show, especially if you don't like wrestling or like never go to wrestling because it's cheap, it's live theater, it's good stuff.
So, in terms of success in the wrestling world, what does that look like?
That really varies. I've seen, people that have tons of potential that end up going nowhere because of, all kinds of things, work ethic, politics in wrestling. But I've also seen a guy that used to wrestle for us. He goes by Austin Theory now. And he started with us when he was about, I think, 18 years old. And this guy came from Georgia. And it looked like a 26-year-old man. You know what I'm talking about at 18. So he's like one of those blue chip sports guy. You saw him, you knew he was going to be something. He was great looking dude, jacked, physically gifted. So the guys love him because he can kick tail, and the girls love him because he looks good. So and he's young. So if you're investing in somebody as a big time wrestling promoter, especially the ones at the top like WWE, you see, oh, this guy's already got this. And he's already this old. Like, I can make a lot of money off him in 10, 15, 20 years, whatever his longevity is in the career. So he started with us. I watched his training videos. He came to us and started wrestling. And I could just tell, man, like, this dude's going to shoot it to the moon, man. Like I was telling everybody, he's going to go to the top. And then he just started working his way up, man. Year after year, it was, next level up, moving up that pyramid chain. Until he finally got a WWE tryout and they signed him, man. And he was in the developmental there for a while. And now you can catch him every Monday night on USA, WWE.
Really?
The guy's making a lot of money, man.
Really?
Buku's money. I'm sure.
You're proud of him.
Way more money than a bartender / to-go guy,
Yeah. Yeah.
There's
So
nobility in both.
And he was a good guy, so I can't hate on him.
Yeah.
He's a good dude.
And you wrestled with him.
I've never wrestled him. I wasn't training at the time.
Uh-huh.
So I think I just started training whenever he was getting on the way out.
So that's the story of a guy that made it.
Correct. And yeah, I wouldn't say it was an easy path, but man, that guy was gifted. Yeah, very gifted.
So wrestlers they're really good at a lot of things.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, all kinds of stuff, man.
One thing I want to say about you is it's interesting because the wrestling thing is like you're on stage, you're doing all this stuff in front of people. There's a promotion element to it, but you strike me as an extremely humble person. And you're going to these things and you're meeting people and you're listening and you're trying to learn. And that's refreshing to me. I find that to be very, very interesting because you're talking about, oh, well, I'm just at the bottom or I'm just trying to learn or I'm listening to these people. Do you get that sense, Matt?
It's interesting to meet you and hang out with you because clearly we've watched wrestling as kids and it's a very self-aggrandizing, self-promoting sport. And that doesn't seem like it's exactly your nature or your vibe. Yeah. And so I mean, you're going to find somebody else to do that. You're going to need a Miss Elizabeth or a Colonel or a Fabulous Moolah to make that work.
I just really appreciate that about you.
Oh yeah, there's few. You know, there's a few good guys out there in the wrestling world. That's right.
That's right. You're the face.
We haven't known each other very long, so there'd be no way that you know that I love fly fishing. I love fly fishing. I can tell you exactly why I love fly fishing, and I've had about 100 chances to be like, wait, I know it seems boring. Hear me out. This is why this is beautiful, and I think you would actually like it. I'm guessing you've had a chance to give that speech a few times about why wrestling is actually beautiful. Would you give us that speech?
Yeah, and this might go all over the place, so bear with me here. If you like going to live theater, if you like going to plays, if you like going to the movies, it's real people in the ring doing real stunts that could honestly get them hurt. And if it's done right, it'll all be told in a story to where you can understand it and your family can come watch it and your kids can understand it. And it's a balance of, you know, stuff for kids and adults. And there are shows that cater to kids and there are shows that definitely cater to the adult side of things. Even if you don't like the wrestling, watch the crowd. You'll go to wrestling shows and watch the crowd and see the reactions and just see how, you know, if you're around people that are having fun, you're more likely to have fun kind of thing. And that's a psychology in its own. You know, some stuff is silly. I get it. But just going to check it out, it's way different than TV. So going to check it out live and actually meeting the people. You know, a lot of these indie guys will actually talk to you like a human being, surprisingly, right? So, you know, these people are normal people just like anybody else, you know. Go meet them. Go support what they do. It's art. If you like the arts, go support art. Just go to a wrestling show. You should just go to a wrestling show. It's hard to explain. It really is. Even if it's a bad wrestling show. I love going to watch plays. Like any kind of plays in school, in college, I go watch it just because, I don't know, I just like that stuff, man.
What's the next event you have coming up that you're excited about and that streams and that people who are listening to this who would like to see the Locksmith wrestle could go and watch?
It's going to be for a promotion called GCW, which is Game Changer Wrestling. It's going to be January the 21st and 22nd at the Von Braun Civic Center.
That's awesome. That's huge.
It is huge.
I don't know this. I mean, I know.
Yeah, that's in Huntsville.
Von
That's
Braun
the
is,
big.
So I guessed it was Huntsville. But
That's the big thing. Yeah.
It is pretty big. It's not the main hall, but
Whatever.
It's awesome.
I didn't even
it's
know
on
that
Fight
part.
TV.
It's awesome. It's wait, what's it called? Fight
TV. It's a app you can download on any streaming service. It's one of the biggest ones, MMA, all that stuff. It's Fight TV Plus, which is a $4.99 subscription to all kinds of stuff, wrestling, boxing, MMA, whatever. But GCW streams pretty much every show they have to this network.
Okay, so let me ask you this question.
Okay.
If the people that are listening to this are like, okay, the Locksmith guy, Brandon Williams, he seems like a pretty cool dude. I want him to succeed. I want him to be promoted by GCW in the future. What could they do, like in a meaningful way, to support you? Like, is there a way they could pull out their phone and tweet at GCW, hey, thanks for featuring the Locksmith, or like, what could they do?
Oh, for sure. You know, engagement on the internet, any kind of social media engagement. Obviously, if you're local to the area that GCW is coming, which they go all over the country, and you can check their websites, all that stuff. Show up in person. I sell merch online. I sell some merch. I'm trying to get more. And yeah, if like on my Twitter, once they announce my match, they'll put out a match graphic, which will have me and the guy I'm facing. Internet traction on that, just a like, a share, a comment, anything, just to show that there's people out there that say, oh, maybe somebody likes this guy, or, you know, maybe this is good for business. If somebody likes this guy this much, it might in turn reflect on their business. You know, it's the promotion game.
The Locksmith, Brandon Williams, thank you so much for being with us, dude. This has been
Thank you.
Fantastic. You've opened my eyes to wrestling.
Yes, very much so. When I was a kid, you told me I would get to have a conversation like this someday. I think that would have been a big deal. And sure enough, now it's a big deal.
It is, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. I really enjoyed this. Appreciate it.